He sat nervously at the corner table, glancing every few seconds at the cafe door, his hands fidgeting around the coffee cup that had gone cold long ago. It wasn't like him to be this anxious. But tonight felt different. Maybe because this blind date was his first in years since his wife passed away. Maybe because his teenage daughter had practically begged him to move on, to at least try and meet someone. The thought made him smile faintly, but a whisper of guilt still sat heavy on his chest. He didn't know what he was hoping for, a spark, maybe, or just a reason to believe that life could be kind again. The bell above the cafe door chimed, and a young woman walked in. She looked around, her eyes soft but searching. When their eyes met, she smiled, not the wide, confident smile of someone walking into a date, but a quiet, trembling one, almost hesitant. She approached slowly and said, "You must be Daniel." He stood up, extending his hand awkwardly. "Yeah, that's me." "You must be Claire," he said, remembering the name his friend had mentioned when setting up this date. She nodded, but something about her eyes made him pause. They held a depth of emotion he couldn't quite place. She sat down across from him, clasping her hands tightly, as if steadying herself. For the first few minutes, they exchanged the usual small talk about work, about the weather, about how strange blind dates could be. But the longer they talked, the more Daniel noticed how distant she seemed, like she was there but not really there. She asked about his daughter, about how he was coping after his wife's death, about the car accident that had taken her away. Her questions were gentle but personal, almost too knowing. "How do you know about the accident?" he finally asked, suspicion mixing with confusion. Claire's eyes shimmered, and her voice dropped to a whisper. "Because I was there." He froze. "What do you mean you were there?" She took a trembling breath. "That night. The night your wife's car crashed. I was the one trapped under the overturned vehicle behind her. You pulled me out first, before anyone else came. You saved my life." The world seemed to tilt. He remembered that night, the chaos, the screaming, the smell of burning rubber. He had crawled through shattered glass, trying to pull people from the wreckage. He remembered the girl with blood on her forehead, the one he had dragged out before running back for his wife, but by the time he returned, it was too late. He swallowed hard, his throat tightening. You were that girl?" She nodded, tears falling freely now. "I was 17. I didn't know who you were, not until I saw your story online last year, about the man who lost his wife but saved strangers that night. I've been searching for you since then. I'm sorry if I deceived you tonight. I didn't know how else to meet you. I'm not here for a date, Daniel. I'm here to say thank you." He sat back, speechless. The air between them felt heavier than words could hold. For years, he had lived with guilt, the guilt of saving others first, the guilt of not reaching his wife in time. But now, sitting across from the life he saved, something inside him shifted. Claire reached into her bag and pulled out a small photo, a picture of her with her family. "You didn't just save me," she said softly. "You saved my parents' world too. Because of you, I got to go to college, to live a life I never thought I would. You gave me years I wasn't supposed to have." Daniel felt the tears finally break free. The cafe blurred as his vision swam. For the first time in years, he didn't feel haunted. He felt seen. They talked for hours that night. She told him about her life, her dreams, her struggles, how she had once been too afraid to drive again, how therapy and time had helped her heal. And he told her about his daughter, how she had become his reason to live when everything else fell apart. By the time the cafe closed, something unexpected had formed between them, not romance, but connection. The kind of bond that runs deeper than love, born from pain, gratitude, and destiny. Outside, under the glow of the streetlight, Claire hesitated before saying goodbye. "You thought this was a blind date," she said, smiling through tears, "but maybe it was just fate reminding you that even in loss, you've given life." He smiled faintly. "And maybe," he replied, "you were the message I needed to hear." She hugged him tightly, a silent exchange of forgiveness and healing. Then she walked away, leaving him standing there with the night wind carrying her words. When he got home, his daughter was waiting. "So, how was the date, Dad?" she teased. Daniel just smiled, his voice quiet but full of peace. It wasn't a date, he said softly. It was a thank you I didn't know I needed. And for the first time in a long while, he felt his heart lighten, not because he found love again, but because he finally found closure. Sometimes, life doesn't send us love stories. It sends us healing ones. And that night, Daniel learned that even the most broken hearts can find their way back to light not through romance, but through the simple, beautiful act of gratitude.